everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy, Wright, and today we are talking about taking control of your life. Now, I know this sounds like a nice idea, but the reality is sometimes we don't feel like we have any control. Sometimes we feel like that we are just tossed right and left by the seasons of life and situations and people in our life. But you know what? We actually have more control than we think we do. See, so often we go through our lives and we feel like we don't have any control. We're the victim. We're, unfortunate, or we're set behind, or someone did us wrong, or something's going wrong, or we can't fix that, and we would want this differently, and so on. Those things might be true. Your situation might be hard. Your situation might be a lot harder than anything I've ever been through, and that's very real for you. But here's the great news. That's not the only story, and it's certainly not the end of the story. Because in any situation, you have more control than you think you do. I want to give you some examples of some famous people, some wealthy people, some people that have made it in every possible version of success. And let's look at where they started, how they started. Let me give you an example. Damon John, who is one of the sharks on Shark Tank, he also is the founder of FUBU. He was raised by a single mother, and he had to start working at the age of 10 to help his mom. He had dyslexia, and he even worked as a server at Red Lobster when he launched his apparel company from his home. Not very impressive, right? Well, today, FUBU has brought in more than $6 billion in global sales. Okay, he took control of what he could. Let's use another example. Sarah Blakely. Sarah Blakely was not always famous and wealthy and known for her amazing Spanx that we are all very grateful she invented, right? No, she actually failed the LSAT twice. She played a chipmunk at Disney and spent 7 years selling fax machines door to door before she started working on her idea for Spanx. Today, she is one of the world's wealthiest self-made women. Everyone starts somewhere. Everyone has hard times. Everyone has setbacks. No one has this perfect, proven, easy path to success. But you know what? The good news is at any stage of your journey, you have control. You have control in bad times. You have control in good times. You have more control at any stage than you think you do. And I think this is really important because how you view your life and the amount of control that you have, the amount of personal responsibility that you take, the amount of resilience and resolve and determination that you choose to use in your life will affect how your life goes, the results that you get, whether you reach your goals, and whether your story goes where you want it to go or not. It is more dependent on you and your choices and your beliefs and your action and your sense of personal responsibility than whatever is going on around you. Whatever is going on around you is real. I know that it is a factor in your ability to be successful, but it is not the only thing. Because there is a person that can change that. There is a person that can fix that. There is a person that can choose something different, and that person is you. So I want to go through 3 major setbacks that keeping us from feeling in control. I want to go through 3 specific problems that I've faced in my life and I've seen many women face in their lives when it comes to feeling like we have the ability to control our destiny. And I want to go through each one of those and talk to you about a solution for each of them. So let's go through the first one. The first one is simply a victim mentality. This is all about your beliefs. You don't believe you have control, so of course you don't try to control anything. You sit back, you wait, you pout, you complain, you have a pity party and you invite everyone else. I'll tell you, this belief is really prevalent. It can be prevalent in certain families because maybe that's how you were raised. Maybe you've never seen a model of a go-getter, of someone that takes personal responsibility, of someone that has optimism and perseverance and persistence. You've never even seen it, so how would you know it's possible? You were raised in a family where this belief was the final word, and this is how life is. Buckle down and deal with it because we're all victims. Maybe that's how you were raised. In fact, it's also prevalent in certain cultures. When I speak all over the country, it's so interesting how different audiences have different personalities. Now, you wouldn't think an arena of 500 or 5,000 people could have a group personality, but they do. And you can go to some areas where they are excited and fired up and glad to be there, and they're locked in and they're so enthusiastic, taking notes, and they're going to go out of there and change the world. And I've spoken at other arenas, same event, same lineup, same situation, same brand. And the entire energy in the room, the belief, the posture, the facial expressions, everything in the room is, well, that'll never work for me. Well, I'm never going to get out of debt. I can never build a business. Little man just can't get ahead. Poor me. The entire room feels that way. And then you see it on an individual basis when you go out into the lobby and do book signings and you talk to them one after another. The entire culture has that belief. So I don't know where it came from for you if that's something you struggle with. If you struggle with the victim mentality that you really believe you don't have control over your destiny, your life, or your outcomes, it probably came from somewhere. You were not born with this idea that you are not in control of your life at all. That came from somewhere and it was learned. So I want to encourage you. You can change your attitude. You can change your family tree. You can change your belief system because guess what? Your belief system is just that. It's yours. You can choose to believe anything you want to. And if you start looking for examples of optimism and perseverance and persistence and determination and grit and drive, you'll find it because they're out there. Maybe you haven't seen it in your family circle or in your community, but I promise you they are out there. So you can choose to change your attitude just like that. The flip of a switch. You can change your belief system. You can begin to read, invest in yourself, listen to podcasts, attend events, invest in your mind from different sources that show you that something else is possible. But guess what? You have to do it. No one's going to change your attitude for you. You have to be the one to say, I'm going to change my attitude. So regardless of if you were raised with a victim mentality, the first thing that you can do to combat that is you can change your attitude. You can choose to believe something better than what you were raised with. You can choose to believe something different than what you're surrounded by. You can choose your attitude. I love the quote that all of us are familiar with. Life is only 10% what happens to us and 90% how we react to it. It all comes down to attitude. I love how my friend Melissa says, your mind is multi-million-dollar real estate. Be very selective about what you let reside there. So what thoughts are you keeping? What beliefs are you allowing to drive your actions and your behavior? Yes, you may have been raised with a victim mentality, or you might even be surrounded by it, but you are in control of your attitude and your beliefs. Change your attitude and start taking control over what you believe. And here's what's amazing. You will start to see different results as you change those beliefs. Now let's talk about the second barrier to personal responsibility. This is something that I'll tell you I've experienced plenty of times in my life, and it can be a challenge to feeling in control whenever you're facing this. I know it sounds silly, but the second challenge we face when it comes to feeling in control is simply being tired. That's right, just tired. Y'all, we run ourselves ragged. We are going nonstop 24 hours a day. We're trying to be the great mom. We're trying to be a great wife. We're trying to run a great business and build our career and show up at church and PTA meetings. We're doing all these things. And of course, because we're doing all the things, we are so tired. And so we come home and we hit a breaking point and we're like, why am I doing this? Where am I? How did I get lost in all of these things? I'll tell you guys, I went through a really challenging season in the fall of 2017. I had had a crazy year. In the spring of that year, I was adjusting to being a mom of 2 babies, 19 months apart, and by the way, launching my book and a podcast and lots of things going on. That was the spring. In the fall, I traveled every single weekend with an outside speaking event, in addition to all the other things that I was doing. And I just came home one day, and I remember talking to my husband, and I said, I don't know why I do this. I don't know why I do this. I don't have to do this. I'm so tired. And my husband, who is an amazing, supportive person, looked at me and he said, yes, you do. Yes, you do. You're just tired. You know why you do this. You know about the lives that are being changed. You know about the women that are being encouraged. You know about how God is using you to speak to someone that needs to hear exactly what he wants to say, and he's going to use you to do it. You know why you do this. You're just tired. And there was such wisdom in his words, because the reality is, I love my work. I love what I get to do. I love that I get to do work that matters, that changes people's lives, that helps people. But you know what? I didn't feel in control of that. I felt like I was a victim to the work. I was a rat on a wheel. I was constantly trying to keep up. I didn't feel in control. I didn't feel that I had any sense of being able to change something about my situation because I was always running and gunning and at airports and going hard. And I just felt like I was a passive participant, a victim in my schedule. But the truth is I wasn't, and I'm not a victim. I actually love my work. I love my schedule. I was just tired. I just simply needed rest. So if you're just feeling discouraged, it doesn't mean that you're not in control of your destiny. It doesn't mean that you're not in control of your choices or your outcome. You might just be tired. Now, I want to give you some encouragement with this one. That actually is not only what my husband encouraged me, but it's also a good reminder for all of us. What's your why? Go back to your why. What's your why for your work or your why for your kids or your why for the things that you're doing? If you're feeling discouraged and tired, go back to your why. What's your why for the work that you do? What's your why for your kids or your family or your commitments? When you get to your why, you get to that deeper level, that deeper meaning behind those things that matter to you, and it helps you reset on what really matters. But here's another really tactical, simple thing that you can do. Get some rest. Y'all, get some rest. Go to bed earlier, sleep in a little longer, take a nap when and if you can, just get some rest. Here's what's fascinating. Rest is actually biblical. I've been learning about this a lot recently as I've been diving into scripture on rest. And rest is not only a blessing from the Lord and a gift from the Lord, it's also a command. We have a command to rest because God knows we need it. He knows what's good for us. But here's what's interesting. Lack of rest is used in some situations in the Bible as punishment. The Bible says they will never enter my rest because of their unbelief. It's actually used as punishment to not be able to have rest. So maybe something you need to make you feel more in control, maybe something you need to make you feel like you actually have a say in your own life is simply to get some sleep. I'll tell you guys, in my life, tired decisions are never good decisions. Tired decisions are never wise decisions. Tired decisions never lead to a good outcome. Get some rest. Get some rest. You will wake up and you will have such clarity about that situation. You will feel such a sense of confidence and control about your life when you just stinking get some sleep. So if you're feeling discouraged, you might not be discouraged. You might not be a victim. You might just be tired. So get some rest. Now, the third challenge when it comes to personal responsibility and feeling a sense of control over our lives, and this I've seen a lot, is sometimes masked as holiness. Here's the challenge. You're waiting on God. Well, you're not going to take any steps because you're waiting on God. You're not going to take any action because you're waiting on God. You're not going to do anything because you're waiting on God. I remember speaking at an event several years ago, and I was signing books in the lobby during the break, and so many women came up to me, and I was like, oh, what are you working on? What are you excited about? And they said, oh, well, I'm just waiting on God to show me what to do. I'm just waiting. Been waiting a while. Been waiting 7 years. Been knitting on my couch waiting 7 years for God to show up. He hadn't shown up yet, but I'm just waiting. Okay. It's good to wait. It's good to be patient. I'm all about it. I should work on that more. However, if you've been waiting for 7 years, God might be saying, sister, it's time to get moving. It's time to do something. I tell people all the time, God can steer a moving vehicle. He cannot steer a stalled car. If you are praying and you are asking God to direct you as you are walking, He will direct you. You will be in His will as you take steps of faith where you are today. What can you do today? What action can you take today? What knowledge do you have to inform your decisions today? Instead of waiting for a lightning bolt from the sky and for an angel to literally appear in your living room in front of your Netflix episode, why don't you get up and do something? Go do something. You have more control than you think you do. And sometimes we sit around under this banner of holiness of I'm going to be the best Christian and wait my whole life away for God to show up. And God's going, I'm here. I am attracted to activity. Let's get moving. I will show you where to go. I will show you the next step when you take the first step, but you got to get off the couch and take the first step. So you have control. That doesn't mean that you're going to abandon God and run ahead of His plans, but God is giving you free will. God is giving you personal responsibility in your life. If you look at the parable of the talents, God is saying you are an active participant, not a passive recipient. You are an active participant in this life on earth that I have given you. So sister, get moving. What do you need to do? What decision do you need to make? What action do you need to take? What brave step of faith is relevant today? You don't know tomorrow's step. That's fine. What baby step of faith do you need to take today? What step are you delaying? What step are you procrastinating under the banner of, I'm waiting for God to show me the perfect path, to show me the full plan, to show me how it's all going to work out? What do you need to do today? Because you're not in control of tomorrow. You're not in control of yesterday. You're in control of today. You have a responsibility in this life that God has given you. And God is asking you to step up and show up for this life that He's given you. So what step do you need to take? What decision do you need to make? Don't sit around and wait. If you really don't feel like you're supposed to do something, then certainly wait. There's wisdom in patience. There's wisdom in waiting. But some of you have been using waiting as an excuse to do nothing. You've been using that as an excuse to not take personal responsibility over your life, to not steward the gifts, the time, the talent, the energy, the money, the house, the kids, to not steward these things well because you're still waiting. And I just want to encourage you. You have more control than you think you do. You have more control than you are using, even for God's glory. I love the story of the farmer. I've shared this before, but it's a great example of how we are partners with God in this life on earth. There was a businessman walking up a road and he passed this beautiful farm. He's walking alongside the farm and the farm has beautiful fields. The landscaping around the house is perfect. The fence is painted perfectly white. Everything is just lush and green and manicured and well taken care of. And he sees the farmer working the field in his old overalls and he says, "Farmer, wow, look at this farm. God has blessed you." And the farmer said, "He sure has. God has blessed me. And you should have seen what this looked like when he had it all to himself." You get the message? Yes, God will bless you. Yes, God will direct you. And it's up to you to plow the fields. It's up to you to plant the flowers. It's up to you to do the work to make things happen as well. We are partners with God in this life on earth, and you have more control than you think you do. So I don't know which one of these you struggle with, or maybe it's a combination of all three like I do, but I hope this encourages you. You have more control than you think you do. You can't control everything and you can't always control your situation, but you can control a lot more than you probably realize. And maybe you had a tough start. Maybe like Damon John or Sarah Blakely or any one of the other countless examples of people that have overcome challenges, you too can choose to do something different. I love how my friend Christine Kane says, "I'm living proof that you can start bad and finish good." So maybe you had a tough start. Maybe you've had some tough situations along the way, but I hope that encourages you. It's not the end of the story, and it's not the full story. You have more control than you think you do. Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and I'm so excited because today we are doing something a little different. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you one of my exclusive training lessons from my Business Boutique Academy. Many of you know that the Business Boutique Academy is where I coach and train this group of women every single week. And many of the ways that we do that is through our videos in the video training library. Well, today, you get to see one. I'm going to be sharing a lesson with you on how to gain experience and the value of experience. Many times I'll get questions from my Academy members on specific issues, and if it's a really great question, I will go create an entire lesson around that question, and that's what today's lesson is on. This question comes from Sherry Allen, and she asks about gaining experience. So check out this Academy video training lesson on the 3 rules of gaining experience. Hey everyone, welcome back. For this week's video lesson, I'm going to be answering one of your questions. We got a question from Sherry Allen, and it's a really good question. She said, "I'm going to be volunteering at a no-kill animal shelter to get experience working with animals. I want to do this so that I can do pet sitting and dog walking. Am I going in the right direction with this?" Now here's the thing. I love this question, and I love that Sherry sees the value in getting experience. This is an important topic for all of you though, which is why I wanted to cover this for our video lesson this week. The short answer, Sherry, is yes, you definitely are going in the right direction. Getting experience doing what you want to be doing, or at least something similar, is so important because, like with anything in life, you learn the most while on the job. But let's talk about getting experience in general really quickly. And this is for all of you. Experience is important in any business or any industry. But I've seen some of my coaching clients get confused about what it means to get experience and have experience. So let's talk about this really quick. To make this easy to remember, I've broken this down into 3 rules of gaining experience. And this is regardless of your business or your industry. Let's talk about this. Rule number 1, education is not the same as experience. Education is theory, where experience is real life. See, education can be classes or books or conferences or certifications, and all of those things are great. And there is unbelievable value in education, but that is not the same as experience. For example, how you handle a stressful mock situation pretending in the classroom is not how you will actually feel in real life stressful situations when you have to think on your feet. See, it's good practice, but it's not experience. You don't walk out of that class feeling ready if that happens in real life. You only get that kind of confidence from real life experience. Now, let me give you a practical example. I love watching movies, especially those that are based on true stories. Now, some of you may remember the movie Sully. This came out in 2016. This was the story of Chelsea Sullenberger, who was an American pilot who became a hero. He landed his damaged plane on the Hudson River so that he could save the flight's passengers and crew. Now, I thought that this movie was going to be about this amazing miracle of him landing his plane on the river and his heroism, but it actually wasn't. It was about the investigation after the fact to determine if he did the right thing at all. Sully was being accused of being able to get to a nearby airport instead. So, when they ran a simulation based on the engine stats from hitting birds, the flight simulator made it to the airport. This isn't good news for Sully since he's being accused of doing the wrong thing, which, by the way, saved everyone's lives. But the climax of the whole movie happens when Sully says this. He says to the entire courtroom, "You were looking for human error, then make it human." See, a robot or machine immediately made all the adjustments to all the buttons the second the birds hit. But that's not real life when you don't know what just happened. You have to process that, even if it's just a few seconds. You have to think about what to do. You have to think about what actually is the plan. See, robots don't think, but people do. Your education is your flight simulator, but experience is being 30,000 feet in the air and figuring out what to do next. Both are valuable, but they are not the same thing. So let's talk about rule number 2. Rule number 2 is that you get experience by doing things. You know, I was on a coaching call years ago with this guy that had 4 degrees or certifications in a variety of fitness and training areas. And he was actually in the process of getting his 5th. He said he wanted to get customers, but he couldn't until he got experience. But he couldn't get experience until he got customers. See, he felt stuck in this catch-22 where he couldn't get one without the other, so it seemed like he would never get either. But there's a myth hidden in that belief. It's not actually true that you have to have experience to get one customer. You just need to convince one customer that you can help them. And then, once you do actually come through and help them, boom, you've got experience. And that experience fuels your confidence to get the next customer, which gives you more experience, and so on. See, the whole thing snowballs, but it all starts with getting that one customer. Now, if you're in a service-based business and you want to start out doing some free work just to get experience before you start charging, that's fine. It's common and it's perfectly okay as you get your feet wet and you want to introduce yourself to the marketplace. But don't stay there. See, your perceived lack of experience is in your head, not in your customers. I have never in my life bought a dress and thought, how much experience does this seamstress or store owner have? No, I just like the dress. Now, it may be slightly different in a service-based business because customers do need to know that you can do the thing you're promising you can do. But if you can show them proof that you can, or if you can even convince them that you can, you're good. Unless you're a doctor, your customers probably don't really care if you have experience organizing or sewing or doing whatever the thing is that you do. All they care about is if you can do it for them. And if you can convince them that you can, then they can be your lucky first customer. You're not going to get experience sitting around waiting for experience. You get experience by taking a leap of faith and taking a chance on yourself and trying. It's walking on the first stage and knowing you have never delivered a keynote presentation and you have no experience speaking, but you know what? You're going to do it anyway. I always say, don't wait until you're not scared to do the thing you want to do. Do it scared. But that applies here too. Don't wait until you have experience to do the thing you want to do. Do it before you have the experience. And then, guess what? You have the experience. All right, let's move on to rule number 3. Experience doesn't equal ready. See, you can get all the experience in the world and still not feel ready sometimes. There's no such thing as ready. Ready is a myth. So don't use experience as an excuse to not get out there when you really just don't feel ready. Do things before you're ready. You can gain experience, but that doesn't guarantee you're going to be fearless or 100% confident. So if you don't feel fearless or 100% confident, that's okay. The solution may not be more experience though. The solution is like Nike. Just do it. So if you're like Sherry and you're just dipping your toe in the water of a new business or industry or venture and you want to see what it's like, then getting experience in something similar is a great idea. If you've been in business for years and you want to launch a new division or project or goal and you don't know anything about it, getting a little experience under your belt before you go all in can be a really smart move. You will almost always learn more in real life experience scenarios than you ever will from a book or class or conference. So definitely get out there and gain outside experience when you can. Just don't use your lack of experience as an excuse to stay stuck and not really go for it in your own business. I want you to go for it, ready or not. All right, your action step for this lesson is to write out one area of your business that you'd like to gain some more experience. And then this week, take steps to set something up and begin to get that experience. When you do, congratulations, you've got experience in that thing now. Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and today I'm answering one of your questions. Now, this question comes from Jessica. Jessica wrote in, my husband works for a wonderful small business fencing company that has a lot of pride in the fences they build. The issue that continues to come up is customers that won't address a problem with the company, but takes to social media immediately to put down the products without ever having a conversation with the company. There also seems to be a trend of customers demanding unreasonable add-ons or rebates for things that are standard in the fence business. An example is that some people complain about having a wood knot in their fence board, but hello, it's made from a tree. My husband is such a sweet person and wants to exceed customer expectations, but at the same time, it's not fair for customers to ruin reputations and make unreasonable demands without compensation. Please help with some advice. We would greatly appreciate it. Jessica, I hear your frustration, and sister, I've been there plenty of times. Now, you asked really 2 questions here. So I'm going to address both of them separately. The first one is you're asking about the complaints. They don't say anything to the company, but then they go and complain on social media. So here's what I would advise you to do. Wherever they're making these complaints, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Yelp, on whatever platform that it is, I would encourage you to check out what those complaints are and actually call the person. I know this sounds crazy, but if you call them and address it head on, just say, hey, it seems like you weren't happy with the service or the fence. I didn't hear anything about this when we were working on this together. So I'd love to know what you're frustrated by and how I can help. I want you to be a happy customer. And I'm so bummed you're not, especially because I didn't know about it. A lot of times people feel anonymous online. And so they just rant and rave and complain and just gripe and moan all online because they can say things they would never say to your face. If you make a phone call, it might even turn an unhappy customer into a happy customer and a customer that takes down that negative review because you addressed the issue head on, you called out the problem, and you took care of the problem. So my first piece of advice would be to address that. Now, the second question and the answer I have for that actually can affect the first as well. One of the things that you mentioned is that you have customers demanding unreasonable add-ons or rebates for things that are standard. Your husband is sweet and wants to exceed customer expectations. Now, that's why that's key. Your husband wants to exceed customer expectations. He cannot exceed customer expectations when customer expectations are ridiculous, like wanting a wood fence with no knots, okay? That's crazy. They're asking for something that is not possible or reasonable. So your job then, Jessica, and Jessica's husband, if he's watching now, is not to try to exceed their expectations. Your job is to bring their expectations back into reality, okay? Let me give you an example from a completely different industry that I've experienced firsthand as a customer. My husband and I have a pest control service at our house. You know, they come out like once a month or once a quarter and spray for bugs and that type of thing. When we set up this arrangement, they were very, very clear, very kind, but very clear. This will not get rid of every bug ever. This will not get rid of every bug in your house. It won't get rid of every bug in your yard. It won't get rid of every bug in the neighborhood, and it won't get rid of every bug in the world. So let me go ahead and bring your expectations into reality that we're going to manage the bugs. We're going to get rid of some bugs. We're going to control the bugs. This does not mean you will never again see a spider ever in your life. Are we on the same page? Here on planet Earth? Great. Sign here, pay here, and we can move forward, right? So his job was not to try to get rid of all the bugs in the whole world. His job was to bring our expectations as a customer into reality. Now, as you can imagine, we're kind of reasonable people and we would expect that anyway. But you can tell he was so insistent about it because why? Because he had dealt with that issue before. He had dealt with customers with unreasonable expectations, calling and complaining. After 6 months of service, there were still spiders in their house sometimes. Gasp, oh my gosh, because that's real life. So he went on and on and on, setting our expectations so that he could serve us and exceed them. And so then when there were almost no bugs, we were really, really happy. So that's my encouragement for you. You know the fence industry. Your customers do not. Oftentimes, they don't even know what they're asking for. They're asking for something ludicrous, but they don't know it's ludicrous. So your job is to bring them into reality and say, hey, we would love to serve you. We would love to create a beautiful fence. Here's what you can expect. Now, I do want to go ahead and call out. There are going to be knots and the paint's not going to be perfect. Or, sometimes when weather sets in after 6 months or 6 years, maybe the posts will bow a little bit. I don't know the fence industry, Jessica. I'm making all this up. But you can just set their expectations because you know what to prepare them for, and they don't. They've never built a fence. They don't know the fence industry. They're depending on you as the expert in the fence industry to not only build the fence, but set their expectations for the fence. So that's my encouragement to you. And when you do that, here's what will happen. You will have a lot more happy customers and a lot less negative reviews on social media because you set their expectations correctly. One other thing that you can do, just as a last piece of advice, is when you're setting expectations and when you're doing all this preliminary consultation and then that type of thing, you can even say to them, hey, we really want you to be happy. If you're not happy for any reason, please tell us because we'll do our best to fix it. So you're telling them from the beginning that you want them to come to you. The implication is not gripe and moan on social media, right? You're inviting them to give you feedback, and you'd be amazed at how much more comfortable they might feel, more bold they might feel to come directly to you and give you that feedback instead of getting mad and then getting online to complain about it. I hope this helps, Jessica, and I hope this encourages your husband. I know you both love your customers, and I can't wait to see how that love shines through when they bring their expectations back to planet Earth. Good job. Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and today I've got some encouragement for you that hopefully will help you find a little relief. I don't know about you, but I am always exhausted and running hard, so if I can find some relief somewhere, I am interested. Now, today's lesson comes from a recent realization that I had. Here is something that I say to myself all the time. I should do that. I should do this. I should do this. I should do this. All day, every day, I'm filling my mind with shoulds. But let's just back up a little bit and talk about where those shoulds originate. Okay? Let's say that I'm getting ready for the day and I'm putting my makeup on. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my son's birthday's coming up. I need to do this and this. And oh, I could hand make invitations out of scrapbook materials. Wouldn't that be fun? And then I could also come up with really cute gifts for the kids at the party. And then I could also do this and this. It all starts as a could. I could design this party. I could hand make invitations. I could create these gifts. I could get decorations, and make them all myself. I could. It all starts as could. It starts as dreaming. It starts as fun. It starts as creative. It starts as this thing that is exciting. It all starts that way. It starts as a could. But then something happens. I take these ideas that are coulds, they make it on my to-do list, and here's what happens. They become should. And before I know it, weeks later, I'm holding my feet to the fire of this long list of shoulds. I should make the invitations, and I should get the decorations, and I should get the gifts, and I should do this, and I should do this, and I should do this. And I've got this to-do list that's 75 items long that are things that I feel like I have to do. They're no longer optional. They're no longer creative ideas that are fun and maybe I will and maybe I won't. Instead, it's this long list of laws that I have to follow. It's this long list of things that I must do. But you know what? I came up with that list. That list started as an idea in my head. No one is holding me to that except me. And y'all, I do it all the time. I do it with house projects. I do it with commitments. I do it with relationships. I do it with to-do lists. I do it with errands. I do it with everything. What starts as a could, oh, I could do this, fun, turns into, I should do this. I've got to do this. When am I going to get this done? I'm the worst because I haven't done this yet. Y'all, it all starts and ends with us. So often, the burden we feel comes from us. So often, the person holding our feet to the fire of the long list of things is us. We are the gatekeeper. We are the jailer that we feel in bondage to. Other than paying taxes and feeding your family, there's very few things in your life you actually have to do. You don't have to throw your child a party at all. Do you know that? You don't have to do those errands. You don't have to do those tasks. You don't have to complete that project in that way, in that time frame. You don't have to remodel your house. You don't have to do the laundry. You don't have to do most things. You don't have to. But you tell yourself all day, every day, that you do. You should do that. You've got to do that. You need to do that. Listen to the words we use. They are such exhausting words. They're words of bondage. They're words that are absolute. It is black and white. We must do these things. And the to-do list never ends. As soon as we've checked off 5 things, there's 15 things added to the bottom. They all started as a could that sounded fun and turned into a should, and now we have to hold our feet to the fire. I just want to remind you, the person in control of your life and your time and your schedule and your to-do lists and your tasks and your responsibilities is you. You get a choice. You get a choice in what you do and what you don't do. You get a choice in the things that you take from could to should. So maybe it's as simple as changing your words. Instead of telling yourself all day, every day, I should do that. I should do that. I should do more of that. I've got to do that. I need to do that. What if you just changed it back to could? Hey, I could clean or not. I could throw my son that party and make all the decorations or not. You know what? I'm tired. I don't think I will. When you use the word could instead of should, it says options. It says fun. It says flexibility. It says if you're in the mood, great. And if you're not, great. It doesn't matter because it's a could. A could has options and a should has burden to it. So I just want to encourage you. When you're going about your day and your mind is constantly racing with all the things that you should do, let's just do a quick rewind. Let's just go ahead and take those things right back to could and replace your words with could. I could do that. I could do that. I could do that. Or not. I hope this gives you a little bit of relief. It does me as I look at my to-do list and realize that of the 75 things on my to-do list, there are really only about 3 that I actually should do. The rest, I could or not. It gives you options and it gives you relief. Let's be a little kinder to ourselves as we are going about our day and holding our feet to the fire for so many things. Let's be the person that gives ourselves relief. Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. This week we are sharing with you another behind-the-scenes video training lesson from our Business Boutique Academy. Today's lesson is kind of a battle cry. It is a call for us women to champion each other. I know that we have a million decisions that we're faced with, we have a million responsibilities, and let's be honest, we don't always agree on how to do things in parenting, in business, and in life. But I think you'll find that there are more things that bring us together than those things that separate us. And today's lesson is all about focusing on the ties that bind us. Check this out. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm really excited about this lesson because we're going to be talking about something that's really important to me, and it's something that I believe should be really important to all of us. We're going to be talking about women championing other women. You know, this is a message that's been on my heart for a long time, and I've talked about this in multiple different locations, whether it's at events or in media interviews, but it's something I specifically want to challenge you as an Academy member. There's a real danger in us comparing ourselves to other people. And you know, my grandmother had a great quote when she was alive. She would always say to me, Christy, don't worry about being right, just worry about being kind. And that's a really good message for us to kick off this lesson on women championing other women. Now, let's look at this realistically. We have a lot of really difficult decisions as women. And to be honest, as a woman, those difficult decisions don't bother me. As a woman, I can deal with the uncertainty and the fear and the doubt that accompany all of my many choices that I have to make every single day. I can handle the weight of that responsibility, but here's what I'm struggling to accept. When I look around me, in life, in business, in our culture, it seems like that we women have allowed these decisions that we're faced with in our lives, these intimate and vulnerable and very personal decisions, to become what define us and what divide us. And to be honest, it's something that we've all been wounded by at one time or another. And of course, it's not always obvious, right? Like, it might be the scowl on another woman's face when she hears that you're taking off work for a week-long vacation. Or it's the tone in another woman's voice when she asks where your baby's hat is in this weather. However, it's also something that every single one of us is guilty of as well. It's the faces we make and the tones that we take. It's the eye rolls and the passive-aggressive comments. It's the disapproval and judgment that oozes out of every pore of our bodies. And really, y'all, why do we care? Why do we care if another mother chooses natural childbirth or modern medicine? Why do we feel so compelled to turn up our noses at how she spends her money or what she wears? Why are we so appalled when a woman works full-time just weeks after giving birth or stays home full-time when her children are in school all day? Why is another woman's work life and business life and personal life and family's life and child's life any of our freaking business? But most of all, why are we so consumed with these things that divide us instead of the ties that bind us? You know, often the reason we're so quick to judge other women with decisions different from our own is that we aren't completely comfortable with our own choices. So the woman with a full-time office job or business full-time might look down on the stay-at-home mom while battling her own guilt when she can't attend every class party and every field trip. But then the stay-at-home mom judges the woman working long hours while at the same time struggling with her own sense of identity and purpose. Y'all, we're all starving for grace. And at the same time, we are withholding that same grace from each other, and it's doing damage. It's damaging our relationships, and it's destroying our trust. It's fueling the fire of perfectionism and then planting seeds of self-doubt. Y'all, it's tearing down and dividing us when God calls us to build each other up and be united. And really, at our core, all the women I've ever met want the same exact things. We want a purpose that we can be proud of. We want a family that's healthy and happy. We want a body that we can feel comfortable in. We want a life that we love. Y'all, these are the ties that bind us together as women. So how different would our relationships be if we focused on that instead? How different would our conversations be if we focused on how all of the women around us are doing exactly what we are, which is the very best that they can? Now, her methods may be her way and not my way, but you know what? That's okay because it's her life. And I don't know about you, but I don't know of a single woman in the world that needs another person telling her what she should be doing. She doesn't need more standards to meet. She needs support. She doesn't need more advice. She needs affirmation. And she doesn't need more guidance. She needs grace. So let's save our well-meaning advice and our suggestions and our many opinions and instead just focus on loving the woman in front of us. Let's deliberately dissolve the judgment between us and realize that each of us is on a uniquely and perfectly messy journey of our own. When we focus on that, we can finally put our weapons down and sit next to a woman with a life and a business entirely different from our own and still appreciate everything she is and everything she offers without feeling envious or superior. When we stop focusing on what divides us, we can champion each other in a way that allows the women in our lives to feel supported and accepted exactly as they are. And we can feel the freedom to accept ourselves and our own choices as well. We can finally rest in the paradox of finding comfort in our own uncomfortable choices. I love this quote from Ann Voskamp. She says, "I won't judge you for the dishes in your sink and the shoes over your floor and the laundry on your couch. I won't judge you for choosing not to spend your one life weeding the garden or washing the windows or working on organizing the pantry. I won't judge you for the size of your waist, the flatness, bigness, cut, or color of your hair, the hipness of your clothes, and I won't judge whether you work at a stove, a screen, a store, a steering wheel, a sink, or a stage. I won't judge you for where you are on your road, won't belittle your offering, your creativity, your battle, or your work." What a great quote to end this lesson on. Women, I want you to know how important it is for you to not only extend grace to other women around you, but for you to accept that grace yourself. After all, we can't offer something we don't have, and we can't lead others where we're not. So if you want to love the women around you, if you want to champion them and build them up, it starts with you. Your action step for this lesson is 2 parts. Part 1, I want you to forgive a woman who's wronged you. We've all been there, and we may have done the wrong or had the wrong done to us. But this week, you're going to offer forgiveness. Whether she's offended you or hurt your feelings, I don't know what the story is, but you're going to offer forgiveness, even if she didn't apologize. But then part 2 is I want you to reach out to someone this week and build them up. We're going to share the love, and I want you to actually share it on social media or even here in the Business Boutique Academy. Share your encouragement for other people to see, and I guarantee you it will inspire them to build other people up as well. Y'all, there is power in women championing other women. So let's be the women that start that happening. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you want more training and coaching, you don't want to miss joining my Business Boutique Academy. You can find out more information about when we open enrollment by clicking the link below.